We'd like to welcome each and every individual to the Voices of Integrity podcast for Coffee Connection, the virtual coffee connection. And let's dive right in. Amy, what you got?
Well, good morning, Mark and everyone. Let's talk about using solving the problem of the person we're doing a one-to-one with, using that survey and that personality, because I also offer a snapshot report and it's bringing value to that one-to-one under the premise of getting more referrals, because I think most business owners prefer to work under a referral as part of their marketing strategy versus cold calls. I don't mind cold calls, but cold calls are a little bit out of fashion, maybe. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on that too.
Um, I don't know if anybody really likes cold calls. I guess in theory, some people do, but by and large, people don't. Um,
Exactly.
we talked about in the Top Gun training this morning the value of a client. And so, first generation, second, third, and fourth generation. And so referrals are a lot of times the referral is going to come from a referral is often going to come from a current client, which may have come from another current client, which may have come from another current client. And that first current client came from a cold call. And so for me, I, I'm working on systems where the salespeople would go ahead and have somebody in pre-sales that's doing a lot of the. So in pre-sales, you're typically in pre-sales, it's analytic and amiable tend to do better in pre-sales. The driver and the expressive tend to do better in the sale. And so, if your salespeople don't do marketing and pre-sales, they often don't appreciate it. So Tom Kuhn, they had a machine that generated, I don't know, 20,000 leads a month for, 140,000 agents or whatever it was. And they would go ahead and give them to different offices. And if the lead wasn't a good lead, the agent had to say the lead wasn't good. The manager had to verify that the lead wasn't good. And the broker owner had to sign off on it and say it wasn't good. So you had three people say it wasn't good. It's not a good lead. So Tom's these all can't be bad leads. Like, I don't know, 60, 70, 80% of the leads were bad leads. He says, so he hired an outside research firm to come in and research them. And they found, like, of the bad leads, these are not good leads. Like 20% of the people bought, like, within a month. The bad leads, 20 bought from somebody else. And like 60% of the leads, they were planning on buying in the next 3 to 6 months or something, next 3 months to a year or something. And then I don't know, 10 to 20% of the leads were bad leads. And so having the cold calls, that's an interesting concept, and if it feeds into the rest. But what was your original question, Amy?
Well, so I do one-to-ones and I'm in BNI to generate referrals. So the bulk of our referrals come from our referral networks like Uplift and BNI.
Yep.
If I need to expand beyond that, because we're talking about one-to-ones and offering that the 3-minute survey, the personality survey, solving a problem for them in that meeting, how do we tie that in? Like, how do we tie that in to get a more robust lead gen program that maybe doesn't include a human element at the very beginning, but pulls them in to have a meeting with us to book that one-to-one to get that personality assessment and the snapshot report, depending on who I'm seeing, if it's a peer that's going to refer or if it's a possible client that's inquired.
So the fishery principle is an interesting principle. So in the fishery principle,
And Chris, would you agree that you were also looking for new customers and trying to grow your book of business?
No, I'm super happy where I am.
well, that explains a lot. Okay, I was kind of curious, but now that I understand that, I'm like, oh, that makes all the sense now. So we all want the blue fish. We all want, so if you're a fisherman and you're fishing for, let's say, tuna, and you got to have an 80 pound, or a 20 pound tuna to go ahead and make it money. If you catch an 18-pound tuna, what are you going to do?
I mean, I'd probably keep it instead of
So
throwing it back.
Amy,
But
so
you're so,
Amy is thinking next step. Okay. So she's
yeah,
thinking next step. And so you throw it back because you're going to lose money unless you go ahead and adjust the netting and you never catch it in the first place.
all
The
right.
netting is going to be your marketing. So the you typically go after a lot and then you go and put them through a funnel to find your best prospects. Well, if you're not going to be able to use them, don't attract them unless you can go ahead and take that 18-pound salmon and bring it back and put it in a fishery to fatten it up to become a 20-pound tuna. Well, that's a totally different mindset than fishing because now you're farming.
Yeah.
And so now you got to, like in fishing, you're going out to catch a fish to turn it into money. Now you got to catch a fish and put more money into it. But, an 18-pound salmon is pretty close. Tuna is very close to a 20-pound. And so what you have is you have a few here, you have more redfish, and then you have a whole bunch of yellow and green fish. And so here you have, so this is Tom's marketing model. So here's Tom's marketing model. So Tom's marketing model is, there's 4 phases that everybody goes through in making a buying or selling decision. And so there's 4 phases that people go through. The first 2 phases are subconscious. The third one's conscious, and the fourth one's conscious. The first one, he uses it as it relates to, buying a home. So wouldn't it be nice to buy a home? They just think, okay. Then the second phase is because my friends are buying a home, because we're getting married, because we're having kids. And so you go there. And Tom says, we do this decision making model if we're buying a stick of gum. So this marketing model is universal. So then you go ahead and say because. So subconsciously you're like, hey, other people are buying, I should. Then there's the first time conscious that comes and like we could buy a home. Like we could actually buy a home. So you have in franchise, wouldn't it be, everybody's trying to go ahead and get residual income. I don't know if there's such a thing. That would be another conversation for another time. And so then you go ahead and first time conscious. And so this is like a lead that's here, over here. If you have a lead that's an 8, you need a system or a tool of a system or tools of a 2 to convert that 8 into a sale. If you have a lead that's a 4, you need a system or sales skills, go ahead and of a 6. So the lower the quality of the lead, the better skills and or a system you need to have to convert that lead. So once they connect with the industry, that lead is probably a 7 in quality. Over here at the right, that's a 9. This is what every business wants, is they want a lead that's a 9. And so they want a lead that's a 9. And so, but what if you connected like this cycle? This is the decision marketing model cycle. How long does this decision go? Well, for some people, like buying a home, it could be 5 or 10 years. So
Right.
how do you accelerate? How do you accelerate this to make it a shorter sales cycle? Tom did not have the answer for that. Do you guys know? Hey, Arlie, do you guys know where I came up with the answer for that?
Well, I want to, is your answer the emotion of it and getting them excited? Or what's your answer? I'm curious.
It's my 15-year-old, when my 30-year-old daughter was 15. I was talking to, she had a friend, Noelle, and her dad owned a company in construction, and he and I were talking. And so Katrina is our middle daughter, and he and I were talking. I said, "Yeah, it seems like Katrina." And Noelle was the youngest of 6 kids. Katrina was the middle of 7. I said, "It seems like our daughters are more interested in boys than the older ones were." He's like, "Yeah." He laughed, and he said, "I have a theory on that." I said, "Really? Why is that?" He said, "My theory is the younger ones go ahead and see the older ones in relationships and want that. So it activates the hormones literally in their brain that help them to develop, even sexually, like bodily, like it changes their everything about them." I'm like, dang, that's pretty fascinating. So naturally, me being the businessman I am, I'm like, how do I apply that to business? So what you do is you take your level 4 and you give testimonies, which is box 12, and you feed those to level 3 and you accelerate it. So in real estate, I started investing into real estate when I was 15 years old. The average person buys their first home when they're like, I don't know, 31 or 32.
It's 40 now, Mark.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I,
literally. All right.
I started when I was 15.
Yeah.
Why? Because I had a dad that says, "Hey, Mark, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Sounds good to me, Dad." So you can accelerate this. You have testimonies, you have case studies that go ahead and then activate 3 to move 3 to 4 faster. And then you have 3 activate 2 and move them faster, and 2 that activate 1 to move them faster. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to figure out how to put that into action.
Right. And it is it is brain surgery. It is rocket science. It is the complexity of this, because you have males and females and they're going to respond differently. You have this is AI hasn't caught up with me yet. I'm hoping they do it fast. Then you have age. So anything demographic, education, personality. You have all of these different factors. And so it's like in football, when you're going down the field, you have a lot of options, a lot of different plays that you can make. But when you get into the red zone, which is objections and sales, you can't do a bomb. When you're on the 7-yard line, so your options are reduced when you go ahead and get to this entire, you know, so what do you reduce the sales cycle? Personality mastery, strategic strike, seed reproduction model, how to motivate people, stories to create belief, 5 H's to success. It says 5, but it's 7 T's to stewardship. All of this stuff is just really cool. And so Amy went ahead and wrote 2 really cool testimonies. So I'm compelled, because Amy went ahead and wrote those 2 testimonies. I want her to get more sales from those 2 testimonies than I get. Questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Questions?
How do we do that?
So, so again, it's not easy. It's so what we're going to do is, so here, box 12. So she went ahead and wrote a couple testimonies. And so what we have, so Nora's out, so as Nora's business grows, then Amy's business can grow. Here's a quiz question for all of you. Like, in, let's say, BNI, okay?
Mhm.
So Amy, would you rather go ahead and, let's say your sales closing ratio is 2 out of 10. Okay, so twice as good as the average in the industry. Would you rather go ahead and get somebody from BNI to go ahead and give you, let's say, 4 leads a month? Or would you rather have them increase your sales closing ratio by 1 a month? So one, Would you rather have them go ahead and refer you 4 leads a month, or would you rather have them increase your sales closing ratio by 1 out of 10?
Increase the closing sales ratio because it'd be less people we have to talk to get better results.
Right, and they would increase your business by 50%.
Yeah.
And so, but Amy, see, she's a lot smarter than the average business owner. So she understands these different leverages and how they go ahead and move these different levers and how they move and how they go through things. But most people in BNI are going to go ahead, nothing against BNI. It's a networking group. It's not a mastermind group. And there's a big difference between a mastermind group and a networking. Both have their purpose, both benefits, but a networking group, you go to get fish. I give you a fish, you give me a fish, and we both feel good. We walk away, but we both end up still owning a job rather than owning a company. But a true mastermind group like Coffee Connection, yeah, we can refer leads. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're about how do we get our business to go ahead and run better without us. And so, Nora, you find out why you're losing prospects. Why aren't they converting? Like we have what, 6,800 people that have fallen on that landing page. Of those 6,800 people, how many could be leads for Amy? But we can't get them to engage. We can't get them to go ahead and, register for a 20-minute. It's a free for crying out loud, like Jiminy Crickets. It's like, why can't we have 6,800 people that are landing on that page? We know who they are. We have their phone numbers. We have all their information. We have technology that I've never seen anywhere. It's insane, but we can't crack the code. But how many of those leads could be for Amy? So you want, like Nora's a pilot, you want to go ahead and have the big airplanes coming into the big runways. You want the little airplanes coming into little runways, medium. And so how do we get, so we get those people to engage. How do we get them to engage? One, and then how do we go ahead and direct those to the right people? Who do they go to? Amy? Do they go to Chris? Do they go to Nora? Do they go to Harley? Who do they go to? Do they go to Kenny? Do they go to Luke? Who do they go to? And then how do you reduce that sales cycle to where it's taking as little time, because we don't make any money anywhere besides the sale. You don't make money in marketing. You got to have it. You don't make money in pre-sales. You got to have it. You don't make money in sale and servicing. You're spending money in servicing. You're not making money. You're spending money in servicing. Unless, of course, you go ahead and are here, 29, where you're turning your servicing into a profit center. The more you know about the 530 grid, the more you know about it, the more you don't know. I mean, it's insane, the complexity of it. So what we do, Nora, is a great question, is we break Amy's down in, and does it need to change a little bit? And then how do we go ahead and take it and feed all of that? How do we feed that into, so we want to feed these testimonies into marketing. We want to go ahead and feed those testimonies. It'll generate more engagements. When we feed Amy's testimony into the marketing, that can help your business grow, Nora, but can also help Amy's business to grow. So there's what's called product placement. There's a whole bunch of cool things. This is going to take a few weeks. Then you want to take them into pre-sales, because if you have, based on research in the strategic strike, so box 5, 10 touches to make a sale. So that if you have 4 testimonies and it converts at the end of the 4th one, is it because the 4th one, or is it because the first 3? What if you move the first one up into the 4th one into the first one? Is that going to convert the sale? Often it won't. It's a building process. So you have strategically placed testimonies that go ahead and accelerate the sales. So 2 things in pre-sales you want to do. You want a higher sales closing ratio, 1. And then what you want is you want to go ahead and accelerate that sale. You want to make it happen. So what's your sales cycle? So Synergy sales cycle used to be 9 months. Now I think it's 2 weeks, week or two. And so the biggest thing to alter that was the business x-ray. And so the business x-ray, what it did is it changed everything. Most people on Action Vision, they think if you're selling B2B, the business x-ray is probably the number one sales tool you could have, bar none. And you can use it. You can use that as a sales tool, and it will accelerate your sales because it comes from so many different directions. We can talk about that another time. You want to go ahead and plug it into the sale. You also want those testimonies. So with a tweak of the testimony, Amy can go ahead and say she could have another tweak of a testimony, or she could have another testimony where she's referring all kinds of people to us. Well, when other clients see that, they're going to say, well, why is Amy referring everybody else? Because it helps her. So now they're going to be like, I didn't realize it would help me. So Amy's testimony will reframe servicing and then client relationships for life. This will get referrals, or it'll open up networks. It's crazy. Harley, what would you like to accomplish today?
Just get better in sales.
So how much better do you want to get?
I want to get really good, Mark, but it seems like I'm a long ways off yet.
So the best way to do that is to join Top Gun Sales Boot Camp. It's Eastern time, 5:30 to 6 o'clock every morning, 5 days a week. Nora's in that, and so she can give you information about that. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything that helps you to sell faster than Top Gun. So what it does is it takes the 5:30 grid and you go, okay, asking questions. There's also courses you can take too that will, be beneficial. And then you go ahead and master presenting the solution. And then you go ahead and why prospects are lost. You're applying the 5-time management freedom fighters: delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, and partner with someone. And then level 5 is going to be speed to sell. And then level 6 is penetration versus expansion. So Harley owns a couple different businesses. One of those is a furniture store. And so what he's looking for is a lifelong. So when somebody buys furniture, the cluster principle, when somebody buys furniture, their friends are going to see the furniture. Their friends are likely going to want to buy furniture. So how do you get them to refer, all of their, friends and family? How do you go ahead and get them to buy more furniture, higher end furniture? So a lot of Harleys may be educational. So this one will help you without question, but it's once a week. So it will help you in selling, but it's not daily. And the Top Gun, if anybody on this wants, talk to Nora about it. If anybody wants to really accelerate their sales, go through the Top Gun training. It's just crazy. Excellent. Nora, what would you like to accomplish?
Sorry, when using leverage, how do you determine how much leverage to use or when it's too much?
Yeah, good question. So there's soft power and hard power. So hard power is me as a father saying, you're going to do this to my children because I'm your father. That's hard power. As an owner of a company, hard power is you're going to do what I tell you to do because I'm the owner of the company. And if you don't, I'm going to fire you. That's hard power. You don't want to use hard power anything more. You never want to use hard power, but sometimes you have to. And so you want to use soft power. In leverage, and there's a great course out there through Life Masteries Institute, Leverage. Tom Coons and I and Peter Miles did that course. It's the magical arts of positive motivation and manipulation. And so it talks about leverage. I actually want to do a follow-up course because that course is so powerful. I want to do a whole course on proper leverage. So you can use improper leverage and how do you know the difference? And so what I do, Nora, is I start out with, so my natural personality is driver. The drivers, they tend to use hard power a lot as a default. And so they're going to be the roughest. The amiable tends to use soft power. What I do is I shift gears way down and I go and try to move people with the amiable. If that doesn't work, then, so Harley's on Action Vision. He's Amish. And he had, he needed a surveyor to do things. It wasn't getting it done. Amish are super nice, obviously. And so he's like, he calls me up. He says, Mark, since I'm on Action Vision, can you guys be my attorneys? I'm like, well, we really can't. What do you need though? He says, the guy's not returning my phone calls. So he didn't really need an attorney. What he needed was a driver. I said, oh, we can do that. And immediately we got him to take action. He's still, the surveyor still, he gives, anyways. Then what I do, Nora, is after I do amiable, if that doesn't work, then I go and use analytic. This is frequency too. The higher the frequency, the higher the intensity, the higher the probability you're going to see success, and the higher the risk you have of having some pretty rough things happen. If that doesn't work, then I move into the expressive. The expressive is going to be more assertive than both of these. So they bring the heat on, but they kind of try to do it in a fun, funny way. And if that doesn't work and it's worth the battle, then I go into the driver. And nobody likes the driver. And what sucks for everybody, what's really bad for everybody is the driver doesn't care. See, the other three personalities, they care if you don't like them. So the amiable, one of the worst things you can do to an amiable is, ignore them or, not be happy with them. Man, does that create pain for them. The analytic, one of the things they hate being ignored, not listened to. The expressive, they want attention. So all three of these personalities care about what people think about them. The driver, not so much. And so I moderate this energy. I'm naturally a driver and an analytic, so I have to be really careful in how I use that energy. Why are you smiling, Amy?
I mean, it's good stuff. I'm just thinking with my
Right?
face. Yeah.
Right? Right? Like it's funny because my kids growing up, they'd say, so I'm, opposites attract. So I'm a driver analytic, and my wife is an amiable analytic. So immediately you know what our 41 years have been.
But you have one in common, right? So do you think that
Do.
helps or harms?
It harms. It totally harms. It is not good. Oh, it is not good. No, don't do that. You have it's terrible. So actually, here's an interesting fact. So your secondary personality is often misused far more than your primary because you have more confidence in your secondary than you do in your primary. So
I know
you're more judgmental and I'm more judgmental. I mean, Norris hasn't noticed this. I'm more judgmental of the analytic than I am of any of the other personalities because I know the perfect amount of analytic. Not too much, not too little, because it's my secondary. So my secondary personality, it tends to be, more of a problem than the primary.
and my secondary is driver, and I agree it is a problem because I bulldoze.
Right?
Friendly.
Yep. Chris, what you got, sir?
I watched those videos you suggested. I'm
Nice.
curious about if you're taking a well-established business and physically moving it to another market, what would be your suggestions for essentially not reestablishing, but establishing a new network in a bigger market?
Yeah, in the 530 grid, you do the golden triangle. So you identify targets, box one. You develop and deliver a message, box two. You track 100% of the leads, box three. You ask key questions, box four. You implement a strategic strikes, box five. And then you do grouping people and messages, box six. And so this is the golden triangle. Once you get this in any business, established new business, new market, anything like that, you do that. Now there's a whole bunch of sub stuff underneath here. Oh, develop and deliver a message. One of the three business degrees that I have is a marketing degree. It taught me some things, but nothing compared to real life. And so branding and how you do that and your avatar, all of those. So there's a whole bunch of things in here. Maybe next week we can show you the courses through Life Mastery. So Life Mastery is a nonprofit organization, and they've asked me over the years to go ahead and develop courses. I have. For those courses, there's a charge. It's typically about $500 for a 7-week course or something. I don't make any money on it. If you wanted to do courses for Life Masteries on any of these, you could, and you could actually make money. They have some type of revenue share. I just say, hey, keep all the money. I don't need any of it. And so I can next week I could show you guys. I think I've done about 7 courses on these 30 boxes. And so you drill down deeper and you have an understanding of what it is. But do the golden triangle for sure. Make sense, Chris? Excellent. Anybody else have anything else? Man, I don't know about you guys, but this just flies like a half an hour. It seems like minutes. It's like we have so much fun. So again, invite other individuals. I don't know what the limit is, probably about 12. There's probably 12 people that can be consistent. I can probably get through, so that's about 2 minutes a piece. So I can probably get through 12 people in a half an hour. And then what we'll do is we'll lock it down, and these are the core people. And then these core people, they come and participate. But like if we had 1,000 people on this one, they would still enjoy it. But you core, the ones who are committed, the ones that show up every week, the ones that plan their vacations around this, the ones that are really committed, they're the ones that we go ahead and you guys get. And a lot of people, especially when they're starting, they like to sit behind the scenes and kind of watch you guys. But it's exciting because they see you guys come prepared and you have questions and you're like engaging in it. So if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300 outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.